Hi everyone, my name is Kenneth Martin, the host of the Hard Hat Talks podcast. Thanks for listening again. I'm here joined today by Greig Denham. Hi Greg.
Hi Kenny, how are you?
I'm fine, thanks. Greg is joining us today from Moda Ceramics, but I do believe there's a few changes coming in 2026. Maybe we'll talk about that later.
Yes, absolutely. We can elaborate on that later on.
Excellent, fantastic. So we always kick off just with a wee introduction from yourself as to who you are and how you got here. And
So Greig Denham at Moda Ceramics. I'm directors there, primarily trying to focus on architects and interior designers, with my background being in that field, working initially with Porcelanosa, as quite a lot of people do in the bathroom industry, I think.
Right.
And then Roca Laufen, Specification manager in Scotland, with them. And then, as I say, on to Collinson's, working as their sales director for 2.5 years before deciding that it was the right time to go and do our own thing and try and utilise our contacts and network that we'd worked with extensively over a number of years. So yeah, we're moving into year 6 now, and really positive years, working in various sectors, hospitality, commercial, and mid to high end resi as well. So it's been a really interesting and enjoyable time.
Excellent. I think you've chapped my door probably in all of those roles, looking for
I've been persistent, if nothing else.
Aye. Well, you've furnished me with a couple of games of golf and a trip to Spain, which we thoroughly enjoyed.
Italy's very much on the to-do list. So
Italy, is that what?
We've done it a couple of times so far with Moda. It's a really authentic experience. It's been the feedback, and really some of the manufacturers we work with, museums within their showrooms, which are just back to the kind of early 18th century kind of thing. So it's really steeped in history. And you also get a run trip, and the feedback we've had from all our interior designers and architects who've been on it's been very worthwhile in terms of seeing new products and seeing some of the latest technologies that are involved in the manufacturing processes. It's something we intend to do moving forward in 2026 as well.
Maybe what will happen then is if we get more subscribers, they'll get a free trip to
Italy.
Italy.
Who knows?
Bit of business for Greg, get a trip to Italy, that's what it was. So how did you get involved then in obviously your previous career was football? How did you then transition from that into the construction industry?
It's quite a funny story actually, because at the time as the football was winding down, and obviously quite a lot of injuries set me back. I was coming to the end of my playing career, playing junior football, which a lot of kind of ex-professional boys seem to kind of go down that path, and I was playing with Linlithgow Rose, and at that time I was working as an accident insurance, self-employed role. I got chatting, interested in a kind of steady income and company car and phone and all the rest of it. So I said, if there's any potential interviews, definitely I'd be interested in looking at it. So as fate would have it, during the game, and the ball broke in the halfway line, and I just noticed a blue. You could take the ball and take the body at the same. Unfortunately for him, I've hit him quite hard, and he's went down. I thought that would be much on a mobile phone, and it was just totally new business that I had to go and generate, primarily in Dumfries and Galloway and the borders. So it was quite a challenging role, but I think my background, working self-employed in sales, the accident insurance, and having to do a lot of calls. So I think from that perspective, it stood me in good stead. And there's a lot of chatting doors at, round about areas that didn't necessarily know the brand. And fortunate enough, I kind of made some really good contacts with some house builders and architects, and made the numbers work for the area I was covering. So that was my kind of first introduction of the bathroom industry, of working in specification sales, and then it was on to architectural doors and windows in Cumbernauld. Really had a young family at the time. They offered me a better salary, so that was the God's honest truth. Why I changed roles, and plus the Friday golf at Glen Eagles wasn't too bad either. But that was it. So that was another perk of the business. But so that was my kind of introduction to bathroom sales, and then on to Roca Laufen, specification manager, covering Scotland, house builders and architects and interior designers. So I think all those roles probably stood me in good stead for what I'm doing now, although as you know yourself, Kenny, when you have your own business, you need to kind of wear all hats, and possibly exposes you to various aspects of the business that you weren't really familiar with, or you had previous employments, you had different departments who dealt with different things, accounts, logistics, but when you're running your own business, then you have to be accountable for all of that. So it was a real learning curve starting Moda, although I knew the product and I knew the client base. There was various aspects of the business that were totally alien to me, and it was a real kind of learning process, but it was sink or swim, and you have to learn quickly. And fortunate enough, we're still here 5.5 years later, so we're doing something right.
Well, you've certainly got good support back in main office.
Yes, we have. A good lady. Again, it's been something totally different from her background, working in cyber security and startup business was very much her background. So although she's been involved with startup businesses, the tile industry was totally alien to her, and obviously not been involved in sales and more kind of looking after the invoicing and logistics and making sure deliveries get from A to B on time and where they should be.
Sounds like the hard stuff you've given to Laura.
I would probably say it is, Kenny. I would say it was more boring stuff. So I do sympathise for her, because it's been a total change of skill set for Laura as well. But I'm pleased to say she's picked up well. She's doing.
I think that's the thing as a business owners. We end up being good at our job. And you hear this all the time, a technician, and then all of a sudden you get into business because you think I can do it better than the boss. And then you actually learn. That's when you start learning about everything that's involved.
Well, I think I've had numerous conversations over the last few years with architects who comment that comes up frequently is the fact that go to university, study to be an architect. They don't necessarily study to be a business leader and involved in business. So that seems to be a common theme with it.
I think that's parcel of society nowadays, is we train to be one thing. In reality, there's so many other things. Architects, we've got to have a knowledge of health and safety. Some are qualified health and safety, passive house. So there's all these different niches, and I think the RIBA AS are looking at the curriculum and potentially looking at architects specialising in certain roles, and that will form part of your CPD going forward. But you do start to think, right, I want to become an architect, but all of a sudden I'm someone who's looking at, for example, are we paying minimum wages? Are we beyond that? Registered with that body?
Just want to get back to my day job.
So the tile industry is something, obviously, as architects we get involved in quite a lot. We've obviously got Ollie and Rachel now who are in interiors. So hopefully specifying more tiles and getting more stuff. But it's an interesting one, I think, in terms of the listeners and the viewers, because we've had a lot of guests on who are maybe professionals, who are contractors, representing professional bodies. We've had Nordan in, who's obviously a component supplier of buildings, and then we've got the tile industry as well. And I'm quite intrigued to try and find out then, because the whole premise of the Hard Hat Talks is what challenges is the industry facing just now. And we've not really heard a lot from, if you like, suppliers of materials, what's going on out there. We've just had turn of the year there, we had the big national, I forget the name, that's terrible, the national timber suppliers went under there. So what's happening in the
I think pretty much from when Moda was founded, it's been a real topsy-turvy time within the industry, right from back to Brexit, paperwork that was involved, the different legislations that had taken, bringing products into the UK, being mindful of additional charges and import and export charges when you're looking at doing pricing, trying to obviously account for that when you're working out quotes and invoicing. And then on the back of that, obviously the war in Ukraine, where a lot of the raw materials are sourced from in the Donbass region. So that was a real challenge because a lot of the manufacturers found it increasingly difficult, especially with the kind of darker colour palettes of porcelain, the actual makeup of the product, the clays and the raw materials, they just weren't taken to the raw materials that were being sourced from elsewhere. So manufacturers, and then on top of that, the energy costs, which were having to deal with, there was one time it was almost monthly increase in prices and tweaks and amendments to our pricing. So if you take into account all that's been a real challenging time, both for manufacturers and also for suppliers like ourselves, because we're trying to put prices out there that we think are fair and reasonable, and then obviously there's additional surcharges added on from the factory which reduce our margin, and we then have to see if it's achievable to put it out at those rates. So it's been a real challenging time. Thankfully, touch wood, things are now starting to see a little bit of calm.
Right.
Probably for the first time in, I would say, 2 years.
As a result of you industry getting used to those changes, or is it just
things have started to settle down? See, it was really back to 2021, 22, and I was really just still kind of learning about our business really. And I was going out and speaking to people who have had their own in this industry, and seeing if they're facing the same challenges, if it's something that I was doing wrong or we weren't doing properly. But it's quite reassuring to hear that it's not just you that's feeling like this, we're all feeling like this within the industry. So it was challenging. Logistics, again, especially coming up to this time of year, can be challenging because obviously you've got Christmas, you've got the summer shutdown periods at the factories, which all need to be taken into account.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, you're trying to recommend what the lead times would be on product and stuff. So there's various challenges within the course of the year
Mm-hmm.
that we need to be mindful of. But the biggest ones were certainly Brexit, energy surcharges, raw materials, actually the availability of the products, and obviously the logistics that was kind of bottlenecked during the Brexit process because a lot of companies didn't have the correct paperwork in place, which were holding up trailers at ports, etc. So I'd say those were the biggest challenges. And I think now, from a manufacturing perspective, every year they have fairs in Italy, and each manufacturer's as keen as the next one to introduce new innovative products. But you're asking companies to do that on a yearly basis, Kenny. I've been into the research and development facilities, and see the work that's going on behind the scenes for companies to be constantly ahead of the curve, and it never ceases to amaze me just to see there's another new product. And I think when you're just walking down showrooms, you almost take it for granted that it's a new product out, and you don't really think too much of it. But when you see the amount of products out there and the global companies that we work with, they just seem to be coming out with seamless lines of new product and innovation and new technologies that are being used. It's a real credit to the manufacturers that we work with to see these new innovative products that just seem to be on a conveyor belt almost on a yearly basis.
And can give you, so as the architect who's thinking, right, what glass am I putting within these window frames? You go, where'd I start with 4,000? And obviously that's why they've got their specialist in-house support to help us architects reach the right decision. But when you see all these different materials coming to the marketplace, sustainability might be driving that as well, making materials and factories more sustainable. But you do get to that stage where you go, I dare say I'm going to mention Grenfell. You've got architects are getting these new materials thrown at them, and we're led to believe that things are correct, we can use them, the testing's correct, blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden there's disasters and cutting the corners comes out the woodwork.
I think sustainability, and you go over to the manufacturers in Italy, primarily the ones that we kind of go to, you see the investment that they've made on becoming more sustainable, more green, and it's very much at the forefront of their ethics. Really, they're really making a sustained effort to be greener. Recycling materials as well is a big thing. You go over and visit, you're very keen to show you the recyclability of the products, and obviously less emissions and cutting down on their kind of emissions as well. So they're really keen and really proud actually of what they're doing and how they're going about it. And I say it is a real treat to go over there and see just how much time and effort and finance that they're putting into being a more sustainable company.
You mentioned recycling there. Just as a throwaway comment, do you think a lot of these tiles, what have you, are eventually recycled? Because I'm thinking, having ran a couple of construction sites, and albeit you say, right, that's the recycling skip, you do wonder at times, you think, is that actually going to get recycled?
I think probably the honest answer is probably not.
Right.
But I think from the factory's perspective, when there's defects within the products, when they're running through all the thousands of metres per day, from that aspect, if it's not deemed to the quality that they would say was acceptable, then they will recycle that material and put it through the kilns again to try and obviously cut down on waste. So from that perspective, they're very kind of good with it.
Right. So we've had a wee chat then about some of the challenges that maybe has been in industry since you've been involved. Well, since you're setting up Moda, so to speak. We've had the whole Brexit thing and cost. And coincidentally, in terms of cost increases as a result of all of that, it might be interesting for listeners to know, how does that affect? Is it 5%, a 20% increase in tile costs from when you maybe started the business?
It was probably on an annual basis, it was probably about 5%.
Right.
So and that's just the last year or two, it's flattened out. So we haven't really seen that coming through.
Right.
Fortunately for us, we are a project company, so we don't actually do any retail sales. So it's maybe not been as big an issue for Moda as what it has been for retailers, for instance, where they have to have their rates on display. They'll be very much priced by project basis, obviously taking into account of the quantities, etc. So last year or two certainly flattened out, but there was a time where we were seeing, go back to 2021, it was almost quarterly increases that factories were putting on, just so all over the place, really.
I remember we were trying to get out some development sites back then, and the cost increases when we came out of lockdown were just horrendous, phenomenal. It was like, why all of a sudden? And you did get the whole thing of supply and demand, and you kind of get that, but I don't know, I think looking back, there was actually plenty of supply. It was just an opportunity to put prices up.
I think there was a few companies out there that were maybe exploiting circumstances then. Not necessarily within the ceramic industry, but I'm sure there was some form of exploitation with pricing and in the construction industry in general.
So With that in mind, the premise of the Hard Hat Talks is to chat about the big burning issue, the thing that if you could fix it for either you or your customers tomorrow to make things better within construction, I don't know if you've got a view in that.
Within construction, Kenny, that's quite a general question, Kenny, but I'll try and answer it as best I can. I think from a supplier's perspective, working in specification, if we could have more detailed specifications, would be wonderful, Kenny.
I actually never thought about that. I'll take that as a slap in the wrist. It's funny because you say that, and I think about the times when we get asked, I'm thinking when I used to do a lot of domestic work, because that's more what it applies to us, is I want to do an extension to a house. How much is it going to cost me? And then you try and work out a rough architect's fee. They go, no, for the build. And I go, I haven't even put pen to paper, and a year away from me even starting site. No, I need to know how much it's going to cost.
Maybe a more nailed down specification at times, rather than just
a
lot of legwork and it's either out of budget or no, that's not really the product I was looking for. Well, maybe more of what you're looking for, then we can be a wee bit more specific. So I think from a supplier's, what works really well for us is when clients actually come into our studio and we sit down and we go through a full spec, actually see the products, and it does kind of open people's eyes just to what is on offer really in the formats, and certainly the larger format product, which is very much in trend at the moment. It's becoming more of a kind of common theme within the tile industry. Certainly a larger format, people really like the less grout lines and more kind of seamless detail in the product. So it kind of opens people's eyes when you actually come in and see we are working with global leading manufacturers and some of the products that are on offer.
It's funny you mention the large profiles, because we get our ensuite done like that. So we've got one grout line, but it's like one of those things, unless you clean it, it becomes the grout line that is cleaned.
Well, I remember Kenny, probably when we first kind of met, must be 16, 17 years ago. I remember back then...
We've not had enough game of golf for 16, 17 years.
Possibly, but I remember back then it was like a 600 format. Was seen as being large format, and now you're 1.6 by 3.2 is some of the larger formats that has been specified now. Manufacturers they're coming out with those formats. So the industry has really evolved, and let's say the technology that they're now using in manufacturing, it's pretty amazing, really.
But that probably, the variety of tiles, colours, textures, types, probably is one of the reasons why us as designers are going, don't really know, I need to get Greig in to have a look what's out there.
Which we're more than happy to do.
Yeah, but the choice of products is phenomenal. And I did my inquiries online on the web, etc., to find out that they were bought over, but the company that bought them over, I can't remember the name off the top of my head just now, no longer make Marley roofing products in terms of they've stopped. My goodness,
working with the global manufacturers that we work with, there'll be a product in the UK that's probably flying off the shelves, but it's not really selling anywhere else, and the manufacturer will discontinue it, and we'll be like, why has that been discontinued? Well, it's not really selling anywhere other than the UK market, because it is quite surprising that different countries have different trends on products. Yeah, interesting as well.
Yeah. Brexit thing, as you say, it's affected you and getting used to the restrictions on trades, to the radio the business podcast where Tom Turbo was making that plea to the listeners, or probably to government, that they really need to find a way of smoothing the path of trading with Europe again. His opinion and evidence would show that it's been disastrous for the UK.
Yeah. Better to comment than
Tom
Hunter. So
absolutely.
Very opinion that should be heard.
Yeah. I do kind of align with.
We've went absolutely fine, and we're all over the UK. So logistically within the UK and Ireland, let's say we're fortunate to have a really strong relationship with a global logistics company that we use on a regular basis, and touchwood, it goes pretty well with them, and they've got all the paperwork now in hand as things have kind of settled down. So hopefully those issues in the early kind of post Brexit kind of settled, and season more of an even keel.
Yeah, because obviously we're waiting on the election. So I think for the year right now, there's been a lot of off to see what happens next before businesses really do have the chance to get motoring. The Labour budget last year, which was not flattering for business, up this year we've got everybody just seems to be in pause, just waiting to see. I actually feel as if the UK's been a bit like that since Brexit. Pausing to wait to see what the banks do, interest rates and all that stuff, and everybody's just go, come on, we've had enough. Let's just go.
I think we've become very resilient.
Yeah.
I think not just in construction, but in general, we've had to become very resilient, and because, as you say again, it's just been one thing after another for the last what feels like 6 or 7 years, and thrown at us next. We just seem to, right, okay, we just need to knuckle down and get on with it and make the best out what's quite a challenging situation. So I think within the construction industry, there's obviously been casualties, which is never a nice thing to see, but there's a lot of resilient people within the industry, a lot of hard-working people who have put a lot of time and effort and give something up easily. So with block architects in that context, so since Moda was founded, we've always had challenges put in our way, we've always had issues to overcome, and I think it's made us very resilient and no more efforts to make the business.
I think that's the one thing I've learned. 22 years of having block architects and great years, but by and large, great years are filled with problems and firefighting and just trying to fix issues, and some of the issues could have been catastrophic.
Yeah.
You just keep going. You don't know if that's because I founded the business or if that's just because that's what directors and businesses do. I probably don't have enough experience of being a director in a business without being the founder.
Yeah.
Things that when you give birth to your business, it's your baby, and you just
Very
want
much
to
so.
nurture it and your staff as long as they're with you. And Grace having learned something and moving. For Moda, then I know you mentioned earlier that you're in the processes of finishing your showroom.
We've been doing the last few months. We've been working on a studio extension, so primarily with appointment only for the hardware, where I mentioned large format slabs and mid to high end kind of our portfolio product. Not just, as I say, we're not just now a tile specification business, we're actually a bathroom specification business. We've aligned with some really nice brands. So we've got Hans Grohe on the brassware, V&B, Villeroy and Bosch on the sanitary ware, in Spain furniture. So we've really nice brands and complement to Moda without blowing our own trumpet too much. Global brands have actually came to us and asked if we can work with them. So that's been a really encouraging sign for us. Obviously, we've got a brand out there. I think we're now starting to really establish ourselves in the marketplace as a specification business, and now hopefully bathroom specification business. So we've earned the trust of our customer base, and working with these global manufacturers will hopefully enhance the brand even further.
Yeah, great.
In addition to that, we're now working along with Derek Miller, who's out now doing his own thing. So anyone in the bathroom industry will know Derek Miller, 34 years, co-owner of Scope Bathrooms over in Hillington. So Derek's now out doing his own thing on a consultancy basis, and we're delighted that Derek's going to be working with Moda as well. So I'd say it's probably down to more good fortune than actual detailed planning. The fact that the timing's probably as good as what it is, with us now expanding into doing bathrooms, as well as obviously still working on tile specifications. That Derek's a very connected and very well respected person within the bathroom industry, and the fact he wants to work with Moda, a good friend of mine as well. Really delighted that he's coming on board to further push the brand out there. Yeah,
I've been up to your showroom, not the extended one, but before you started the works. And you do get the feeling of it being a very contemporary, boutique, high-end or brand. What's nice about it is the feel that you get from yourself and Laura is it's not about taking over the world. I mean, not just now, you might get it, but definitely about trying to offer that hands-on personal service, but your clients are a high-end product.
Very much so, and you think what we've tried to do is create a very bespoke space, offer a one-to-one service by appointment only. You're hopefully speaking to someone who's been in the industry for a long time and has good knowledge of the product ranges and what's on offer out there, and do offer hopefully a really good service. It's the easiest thing for us to have done over the last couple of years. We'd went and get a premise in the middle of a city centre somewhere, but we've tried to keep the business nimble, we've tried to keep it flexible, and tried to be quite humble in what we do, as well as trying to maintain and drive the brand forward. But Laura and I, one thing we never wanted to do was have showrooms left, right and centre, but we just wanted to offer our designers a space where they can come and look at product and company that's on their doorstep.
So I wanted to try and take that conversation to, I don't mean politics, but to think a wee bit about what's happening in the UK just now with government and politics and stuff. As a supplier to the industry, is there anything you think the government could be doing to make it easier for you?
Yes, in a word. I think start-up business, we started with our own investment. We've never had to go out to the market for investors or for a third party to put money into the company. We've done it off our own back. What about a grant to maybe assist you with getting another member of staff on board? I just think there's so much more that can be done for small, medium-sized businesses that we would love to go and generate jobs in Fife by bringing in additional members of staff, but this moment in time, PAYE, national insurance, pensions, it's not cheap employing people. We've had our fingers burnt in the past. We were brought on, simply not worked out. So I think there could be a lot more done for small to medium-sized businesses to encourage them to bring on board more staff, especially in Fife, where we're based. I just don't see enough incentives. See how it goes this year, but I certainly think from the government's perspective that small to medium-sized businesses, they need to offer a lot more support than what they're doing currently.
Architecture business over 20 odd years has had some contact with Gateway, and we've had some support in terms of financial support, but we've had some support in terms of consultation, course on social media, etc. Effective they've been, not quite sure. Certainly not negative experiences, but positive experiences. But there does come that point where you go, right, you want to grow the business, a fear factor, an unknown, and it's a bit of a push. I think my first employee, in fact, you remember, was Ronnie.
Yes, I do indeed.
So Ronnie came with me part-time, and it was another day a week, then another day a week before you know it was full-time. And then the thing as an employer, you go, right, I've employed my first member of the team, and then it's like number 2, and that's still a bit daunting because most of it, we were up to 11 in the office, and then up and down with the cycles of the economy, etc. People naturally leave for their own reasons, and you've got to find replacements. But no point through all of that can I truly say that I feel as if there's been any kind of finance or even more advanced training courses. You put all that puzzle together, you can grow your business. Thinking about, even when you've put all that stuff together as a small business, that business survive. I mean, Laura in the business just now, point, you want to exit the business. How do we set the business up and grow the team to make sure that...
We discuss, we haven't got our head in the sand thinking we're going to be doing this job forever. Something that we do discuss on quite a regular basis, to be honest, but it is a real source of frustration, say, for a business to start in 2020 and even to be existing in this 6 year, to be actually growing the business and moving into different product lines and enhance the business by bringing in consultancy basis. I think will work well for everyone. And I think there's something to be said also. I'm going to contradict myself a little bit, saying that Laura and I full time, we're not going out to conquer the world. We do want to have a good client base. We do. We started the business, we wanted good customers. We didn't be working with customers that were giving us a lot of headaches and not being nice, payers, people that are phoning us at, where's my delivery? Well, I told you when it's coming, you're there, but it's there. You want nice people and nice customers. Fortunate enough, we've now got to a stage where we're doing that, and we're working with customers that we actually want to be working with. So we'd like to grow the business. There is an element of something being quite nice about it being both of us. We're in control of our own destiny. We haven't got additional staff, although it's something that we may or may not look at here or the following year, but we'll see how things go with the product.
Some of those challenges you've just mentioned that are ultimately the challenges of the industry, though. Things about dealing with other people in the industry. The previous podcast was talking about the younger generation coming through and their inability to pick up the phone or have a meaningful conversation. As we're pushing ourselves out of the industry, because we're the same age, so we've got another 10 years or so to go. Younger ones who are coming into the industry are probably going to be the leaders by the time we're exiting. And you do scratch your head and go, but they can't pick up the phone. It's all of those challenges about what people that you want to work with. And I think since COVID and since people have had the right to work from almost this thing of dictate how they're going to work and they're going to work and flexible this and this and dental care, and you go, gosh, the message to the government must surely be some of that thinking. You don't want to tax businesses more, etc., etc. Need to loosen the strings in other places so that we can go in and
I think, unfortunately, I'm not going to be too political, but I think, unfortunately, I'm just stating facts and I say that we've got members of the government who have never actually been involved in business, and that's the crux of the matter. They don't know what it's like to be managing cash flows and having staff and having the challenges of any business. They've never been in that position, and so for them to actually be making decisions on the other side of the fence, I think it must be difficult for them because they've never been in that situation. So maybe there isn't enough people with business experience within government.
I think you're probably right, and obviously if you look at the Go Radio show, you've got Lord Hawley talking, you do know those guys have got business experience. I think it's people like that we should be having at the top of the tree. Some influencers on YouTube, etc. as well. And you go, those guys all make sense. Why can't we get people who have run big businesses in politics? And then you've got to look at opposite the pond and say, well, Donald Trump is that. You do get that kind of Donald Trump's one of these guys who just says, I'm going to do it the way I want to do it. But that's because he's used to running businesses and to conduct himself like that.
Yes.
I wholeheartedly get that. And I think, I guess there is the other flip side of the coin as well, where the people who are in local government would say, but budgets, they would say.
Not very well.
They manage budgets.
I would hastily add.
You manage budgets, they manage teams of people, etc. Let's not turn it into a political show, but you do see all these tax grabs, etc., and you do wonder, where's the efficiencies in how you're changing local government?
I think as businesses, about their cloth to suit. In instances, certainly in the early days at Moda, we had to cut our cloth to suit. The premises we had initially, it was an old warehouse, purely used for storage. We have the funds to go and move into a nice, new, shiny facility that we're in now. You cut your cloth to suit initially until you get to a point where you can make that next step.
Yeah.
We've been able to do years ago now. So I think everyone just has to cut their cloth to suit until business becomes successful, sustainable, and start to grow.
Oh, that's what they used to do, cut their cloth instead of looking for more cloth. Cut it.
There's no more cloth to cut.
That's it. Thank you for your time. Is there anything else you would maybe like to mention we've not dabbled in or touched on in terms of the challenges?
One thing I was going to say there when you were talking about the younger generation, boys, and we've all playing football at various levels, and my oldest lad was a qualified plumbing heating engineer, and he got a bad injury with his shoulder, and then I encouraged him to go into the office to see the other side of the business, and he mentioned that younger generation not really wanting to pick up the phone and rather hide behind that laptop or their phone, or just comfortable on a one-to-one basis, and him to go into the office to learn the other side of the business, not just on the tools, but what's going on real in the heart of the business. So the estimating team to let a duck to water.
Okay.
He's in the estimating team over at Ogilvy Construction where he's been for the last few years. So he's been wheeled into the construction industry and showing no signs of going out anytime soon. But he's really enjoying his role.
Oh, good.
And he's really taken to it and mentioned him too much because he's now out on the road and doing, by all accounts, doing very well in it. But it's actually nice to see two older boys certainly forging their own path in this industry. So we'll see how it goes. And it's been great to see the development.
Yeah, I think that the previous podcast we spoke about apprenticeships. I know that's not quite necessarily the same thing, but one of the recurring themes last year was about getting the younger generation in the industry, and a lot of people were thinking, well, they're just not interested. We've learned from actually there's a lot of interest from the youngsters to get from school age, etc., to get into the industry. Yeah. Yes, of course, there is those who want to become media influencers or gurus, and they want to go about and do YouTube or whatever, and that's absolutely fine. That's the choice. But there is still that root core of people who want to get in the industry. I think the challenge over the last 12 months, maybe 14, 18 months, has been the industry taking them in. Certainty of jobs, work, procurement, putting those positions out there. So
I think again it boils down to opportunity. Ultimately, just what direction the industry takes a dip, and then all of a sudden you might have 2 or 3 architects that are surplus to requirements. So I think that's very relevant, even from a junior level, or part twos, whatever it may be. I think the industry is so hesitant about bringing in additional bodies because of that very reason. If the industry starts to show sustainable, improved over the next couple of years, then it gives people that confidence that we actually can go and employ, because we have got a good forecast ahead of us, business coming, so we can bring in additional members of staff. But if it's volatile and up and down, there's an interior design perspective, they're working on projects and practice needs to go and bring in 2 or 3 or 4 interior designers, and then that tails off, and then they're having to bodies out the building.
I think construction is volatile and quite sensitive to market changes. Be booming one minute and then quieter the next minute, but booming and then quiet. I've seen that in my 20 odd years. It's a constant ebb and flow of work and trying to balance things, and the plan's never the plan, B, C, D, because something else happens, delays in planning, all the other stuff that goes with it. And you'll probably see that at the back end as well when it comes to...
Now we'll just really navigate our way through it.
Symptomatic of the industry, I think. You know, the things that's kind of... I often feel like an architecture practice is a bit like a retail shop. You sold last bottle of juice, and now you need somebody to chat the door again and say, can I get another bottle of juice? Like that for us. Once we've done a project for most of our clients, would be we've done some fantastic projects over the years for enough clients. Never ever necessarily come back and chat the door and say, I want to do that again. Some fantastic clients that we do get a lot of repeat business from, but it is that thing of kind of from project to project thinking, 20 odd years, it becomes a bit kind of got to drag yourself out of bed in the morning. You're only 6 years in. You've got enough. Part of the podcast as we're coming to the end, we'll throw some question at you from the previous guest. So the question was, now you can think about where you want to take this back to, maybe your football days, or maybe just to start Moda. But
yep.
With Magic Wand, and you could take yourself back to start. What lesson would you teach yourself back then?
What would I do differently? From a Moda perspective, what would I do differently? I'd have brought Laura in right at the very start. Laura didn't come in for a couple of years.
Right.
So it was myself and Laura's daughter, actually my stepdaughter, Jane, who was basically, Lily Jane was involved in theatre. So obviously coming off the back of the pandemic, was at home, didn't know what to do with herself. So Moda was right in its infancy, and we said, look, get yourself involved. You're really good at social media, TikTok and all that kind of stuff. So we started to enhance the brand, which was great. There's probably a lot more structure that's been brought to the business since Laura's come on board, just basically because of her experience of startup business. She's got a very sound business mind on her. Background had very much been in sales and specification, so although I was really on and good at that side of the business, if you like, there was other parts of the business. Our business would never be what it is today if it wasn't for Laura coming in probably year 3, I think it was, when she first started. So if I had to go back to the start, it would probably be, I wish that we'd brought Laura in sooner. But again, Laura had a really good salary with the cyber security company that she was working with at the time. So obviously, from our perspective at Moda at that time, we just weren't there yet.
It's a skill set thing, isn't it?
Yeah, very much so.
And it's that infancy thing, and we spoke about the support that we don't get from local government and investment at the start of a business. I think was it 1 in 10 businesses don't exist after 10 years or something. I can't remember the Scots stats. I used to know it off the top of my head, I forget. But I do think back to when I started Block Architects, and I had a business mentor at the time. Actually, that business mentor was referred to me through Business Gateway.
Right.
I spent a year with a gentleman called Les Meikle from the Wise Property Care, part-time. And his is you need to get your key personnel in place at the start of the business.
Yep.
I get that, Les, afford it. So I was hiring from the bottom up as opposed to top down.
Yes.
I think that's one of the struggles, and it's the dilemmas of the new start businesses. We can't afford to get those key personnel in place.
Yep.
To some extent, you can't afford not to, because you delay the growth of the business if you don't have those proper people sitting in the right bus in the right seat at the right time.
Yeah, get it. First few months, leaving a full-time job where your employee, or was the director of the business that the previous company was with, like prepares you for the keys to the warehouse and standing there going, right, to try and move this on, prepares you for it and never change it. To be honest, I think the eyes, you really do feel it more because it is your own business and your baby. So I think you do take it a lot more personally than what you would if you were just an employee within Moda. I think that's fair to say. I wouldn't change it for the world, but when I look back to the early stages, it's challenging. In a way for it, it's challenging. Anybody that starts a business and said it's wonderful from day one, I find that quite hard to believe, to be honest. It has its challenges, but the satisfaction you take as the business starts to grow and establish itself, it helps make it all worthwhile.
Absolutely, and I think a lot of business owners start up do it. They do it because of that thing of the love of the business and the thought of the business, as opposed to necessarily the money they're making from the business. Because a lot of business owners don't make. I mean, they're in the factory first thing in the morning. They're leaving the last person out at night, locking up. What they're left with at the end of the month and go, is this worth it? And they go, well, probably not. Well, why do you keep doing it? Because it's my business. I love it, and that's the different side of it.
Flexibility there as well, which specification business would make our own hours and work remotely if we need to. Always need to be pinned down to one place at one time. So we keep out throughout the country in meetings. So we have got a bit of flexibility, varying routine through the course of the week, which is good as well. So I wouldn't change it.
So the next guest, I'm trying to think who that is actually. I don't know who it is, but I'm not going to tell you.
Right, okay.
I'm going to tell you. So, if you don't mind, have you got a wee question you'd like to leave for the next guest? It's from a construction.
From a construction background, one question. Okay. What is the one thing that you would like to take forward moving into 2027?
All right, okay, good question. Okay, I'll pose that one to the next guest. That one actually, but
is that too easy, Kenny?
I think I might know the answer because I think I know the guest, but that's.
I'll go with that one.
That's it. Just the question that I've asked you. Actually, I kicked it back the way you've kicked it forward. You mentioned though that appointment only. So if anybody's listening
Yes.
then obviously if you're on social media channels, they can subscribe to them. Obviously, we're looking for our viewers and listeners to make sure they subscribe to the channel they're listening on just now. But appointment only.
Yes.
So how do they get in contact with you?
So they'll be phone into the office, they'll drop us an email. It's all on our website.
What website?
www.modaceramics.com
Yep.
website. So to log on and put an inquiry on there. Alternatively, we travel extensively throughout the country, samples, Italy as well. So we travel out to those who can't make it along to Dalgety. Seem to be in the west of the country. Dalgety Bay seems to be miles away, Kenny. I think when I stayed in Cumbernauld, if somebody said to me Dalgety Bay, I'd have thought you go there on your holidays, but it's not actually that far. It's only 40 minutes along the M8, really.
It's only 40 minutes long, but actually enough, Dalgety Bay was one of the first places I ever remember going on a holiday.
So you did go on a holiday there?
Yeah. It was our neighbours who went to, there's a caravan park along the Dalgety Bay.
That's right, heading out towards Burnt Island, I think.
Yeah, and it kind of hill.
Right,
and it stands out because I remember, because we had a wee Yorkshire Terrier at the time, and some woman was running around the caravan park saying that she'd lost her dog, and it was and for some reason that caravan park just
that 40 minutes there, and worthwhile, I think, coming out to the feedback for those that have been very positive. And indeed we've had interior designers who have met their clients at Edinburgh Airport, and first port of call has been over to our studio to bottom out specs. So very worthwhile space, and if nothing else, you get a very nice coffee.
Nice coffee indeed, absolutely. Greg, thank you for your time today on the Hard
pleasure.
Talk
Thank
podcast.
you for having us.
It's great to catch up with you. And your team all the best for 2026.
Appreciate it.
And golf course.
Sounds good to me.
Cool. Thanks for that.
Cheers, Kenny.
Thanks for tuning in to the Hard Hat Talks. If you enjoyed the conversation, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, whether you're listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your shows. That way, you'll be sure to never miss an episode. If you've got any feedback or a topic you want us to tackle, please drop us a line. We'd love to hear from you. Till next time, stay safe, stay sharp, and keep your hard hat on.